So good morning. This is our Public Relations campaign, The World at Western, for the Haenicke Institute. My name is Kim Peebler.
I'm Meredith Micah
Kate Dewsbury.
Micah Edwards.
So here at Western, we're recognized by our three pillars to be learner-centered, discovery-driven, and globally engaged. Today we're going to focus on global engagement. So across campus, there seems to be a lack of connection between international and domestic students. And the Haenicke Institute for Global Education is trying to bridge this connection.
So one of the first things we had to do as a group was conduct our primary and secondary research. One of the major goals of this research was to help us decide what obstacles we would need to overcome in order to build that relationship between the international and domestic students that's currently lacking. We began by doing our secondary research, which focused on learning when and how people tend to form their friend groups. We believed if we could figure that out and get there ahead of time, that we could start to build that relationship. Two pieces of particularly important information we found is that students tend to congregate with individuals who share the same linguistic and cultural backgrounds, as well as form culturally homogenous groups. Essentially what this means is that people find other people that are like them, whether that means they talk the same, dress the same, act the same. Whether we like to admit it or not, we don't like change, and we group up with people that are similar to us. After that, we conducted our primary research. We used the website SurveyMonkey to build our survey. We handed it out online and in person through our own social media accounts, as well as we contacted Corey and we were able to get it inside a newsletter. We received 49 responses over the span of 2 weeks, which we acknowledge is a limited sample size, but we believe that the information that we got was good enough to help build this campaign, and eventually we could do it again and get more results, hopefully. We asked, have you heard about the Haenicke Institute for Global Education? We just wanted to get a read if the numbers that we were presented during our initial presentation matched what we believed, and we found that about 75% said no. And it's worth mentioning that this does include international and domestic students, far more domestic students, but there were international students that responded. We also asked, are any of your friends from a different culture? We wanted to make sure that Western wasn't an outlier, and we found that most people said no, or that they had a limited amount. Finally, for our survey, there were more questions, but these are the ones we valued as most important.
I'm so sorry, just on that question, did you ask if they have a friend from another culture or are they an international friend?
We just asked from a different
Or a
culture.
different culture?
We asked, what school year do you think was most important in developing your current friend group? This was the question that helped us base our entire campaign. We found that, as we suspected, most people agreed that it was their first year. This is what led us to decide that it would be best to focus on freshmen, and specifically get into them as soon as possible through the orientation. We also had 2 sets of Likert-style questions with a scale of 1 through 7, 1 being no or strongly disagree, 7 being yes or strongly agree. We were able to take the average and look at the results and begin to form our goals, which we'll be talking about next.
So our goal for our campaign is to increase willingness to engage with a group of students from another culture from 46% to 60% by March 1st, 2018. We got the 46% by our survey, Likert question 5, part 3, as you can see in the book. If there is a group of students from a different culture than you, how likely are you to walk up and start a conversation with them? We took the responses from below a 4 rating, which is neutral, in our Likert question, and we added them up, dividing it by the total to get the 46%. We got the 60% because we decided we wanted to set a target goal for the Haenicke Institute that would be ambitious but also achievable, and so we found that perfect balance at the 60%. The theme for our campaign, as mentioned before, is the world at Western, and then the hashtag HiWMU, which stands for Haenicke Institute, Western Michigan University, that will be used throughout all of our objectives, tactics, and strategies. Our target audiences for our campaign, freshmen, international students, and non-freshmen domestic students. Like Micah was saying, we really want to, our primary focus is really targeting freshmen because we really want to get in there before they've formed their college friend groups, and there's a sense of vulnerability when you come to a college that we really want to focus on.
All right, so our first objective is to increase the percentage of freshmen who are aware of the Haenicke Institute for Global Education from 25 to 45% by December 15th, 2017. So objective 1 is really the strength of our campaign, like they mentioned before, because it's focusing on increasing freshman awareness, so before they have their set friend groups. So that will increase the probability that they're gonna have long-term engagement and actually create a diverse friend group based around the Haenicke. And we got the 25% because we actually did have 12 freshmen take the survey, and 9 of them had said that they had not heard about the Haenicke, while 3 did. And then our second objective is to each month have an average of 5 international students participate in on-campus events, because with that Likert question that Kim was talking about, we found that the international students are all willing to engage. They just need more of an opportunity to get involved with domestic students on campus. And our last objective is to increase willingness of non-domestic students to engage with a group of students from a different culture from 44 to 58% by December 15th, 2017.
Okay, so when it comes to strategy and tactics, we thought that it would be smart to send out a email to incoming international freshmen, as that is our main focus set in Objective 1, to let them know that they should join the first year seminar and FYE program. So we want to combine international and domestic students together and help form friendships their first year of college. We also thought that it would be a great idea to collaborate with the Fall Welcome Week and the Miller Movie Night, collaborating with CAB. That way, international freshmen, domestic freshmen have a chance to integrate with activities and such. Okay, and so on this slide, it shows a flyer that we mocked up where we will put in halls or residence halls on campus. And on the flyer is a QR code, because when students are walking past a meeting or class, they really walk really fast, so they don't have a chance to really get the whole concept of the flyer. And when you put the QR code in your phone, it will connect you to the Haenicke Institute social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, students are allowed to use the hashtag HiWMU along with other WMU hashtags such as Discover WMU, Go WMU, and My WMU. And that way, when you type in either hashtag, everything comes up on all social media platforms. Second, we also thought of an idea of a t-shirt. The t-shirt will be given out at Bronco Bash and different activities on campus, and to get students involved more with the social media platforms. We thought it would be smart to have a social media competition. So throughout the semester, we'll have like different competitions, and the main focus is whoever likes or follows Haenicke Institute on social media will be able to win a free t-shirt. And this assess objectives 1, 2, and 3, so not just 1.
So we mocked up a budget, and one of the strengths of our campaign, we believe, is that it builds off of existing Western architecture rather than building new parts. For instance, we talked about partnering with CAB for Miller Movie Night, which is the first big event the freshman experience, but it's already put on by Western. Some of the ideas we had are hiring student interns, either hiring them or offering credit. And this would allow your social media posts, your email, your newsletter to become more regularly scheduled. We have the flyers that we mocked up earlier. We came up with costs for that. The FYS visits could be done by the interns, so as long as they're trained. The t-shirts that we showed, and the partnership with Miller Movie. And as for our implementation, it isn't in this PowerPoint, but you can turn to page 32 in our campaign book, as well as our appendix for more information.
So to determine if this campaign is successful or not, we would suggest doing a post survey using the same survey that we passed out at the beginning, and looking at question 3, have you heard of the Haenicke Institute, seeing if that percentage increased, and then question 4 below it is, if so, where did you hear about it or how? So looking at, was it through FYS, was it through fall orientation, did you see a poster, Miller Movie, different avenues like that, and kind of assessing what worked the best and continuing on with those strategies. Another one would be increase social media following, because especially during Fall Welcome Week and different orientations, having the students tour through the Haenicke, encouraging them to like your social media, the different contests for the t-shirt, and kind of evaluating if those actually increase social media following. And then also to begin measuring event attendance and compare growth at the end of the campaign, because then if you get more of the students following your social media, you can post about the events, especially if they're freshmen and looking to make friends, they should be increasing attendance.
And just to piggyback off of that, we came up with the idea of like for Miller Movie Night or a CAB program integrated with the Haenicke Institute, using our Bronco swipe cards And then that's a good way to measure attendance before and after if our campaign is working. So overall, our campaign will increase global engagement and education between domestic and international students on campus. This will be encouraged through integrated programs and an increase in social media presence. We believe that if our campaign is implementing global engagement across campus will increase to 60%, ultimately creating a more inclusive and culturally competent student body here at Western Michigan University.
So we just want to thank the Haenicke Institute for donating your time and trusting us with this campaign, and also Dr. Popkova for providing us with learning feedback on this campaign as well.
Thank you.
Awesome job. I want to open by saying we love. I love it. I can't speak for it, but I thought the research was really robust. I thought you did a great job of asking the right questions in your primary research, and you did a great job of finding research that talks about group habits or social habits. Because that's all very true and something that we all need to be aware of. And one of the things that we fight with when we talk about how do we get domestic and international students to engage with each other. In your own perspective, right? Part of this metric is increasing the awareness of the Haenicke Institute. In your perspective, why is it important at the end that students know that the Haenicke Institute was involved?
Well, I can start at least and say that one of the most interesting responses we got in our survey, we gave people the option to ask if they or how they had heard about it. And one student in particular said that they had partook in study abroad one year, but they still weren't sure if that was through you. We believe that's such a strength of Western, being able to travel. We have so many different connections across, international waters and stuff. And we just believe that right now people aren't fully aware of what all is being offered through your services. Same with meeting international students and just the international students in general. We want people to know exactly what brought them in and what the story is that's keeping them here.
So that brings me up to a follow-up question, because you all also propose, come to our office and we're going to tell you how to get globally engaged. So a student comes to the office, what happens when they get there?
I would say a big one would be also directing them to the social media page if they didn't through the flyer, because that's going to be a way that you can keep engaging them. We see that as a potential strength, because then you can let them, part of our implementation schedule was post X amount of times before an event. So really you want to get them, you want to be able to have a way to talk to them before events, so that if they're interested, say, oh yeah, that's great, here's some events we have, follow our social media, and then you'll get to see when those are. So kind of getting them to come back.
So they walk into the door, and that would be like the front desk worker, or I have a staff member there that needs to be on call.
Well, a huge goal of ours is we want to use so many outlets that they don't necessarily come into your office completely blank, They already know something about it, and that's why we really want to go here and there with promotions and the t-shirts and first year experience and freshman orientation. But yes, if they were to come to the office and ask for more information, we would have flyers and more information like that, and I guess hypothetically, there would be someone there to talk to them about that.
And that could be the potential of an intern if you're offering them credit, having somebody there who kind of, like Micah mentioned, maybe running the social media, kind of acting as a front person to field the questions. Yeah, something like that. That would be good.
And if that's too much to have your hours from 9 to 5 of keeping someone staffed there, you could particularly arrange for just walk-in hours, like a time from 12 to 2, where you definitely will have someone available, and that's the time to stop in and make that listed on your website.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's because I'm timing you on this. One more question.
My question was simply just, how did you go about allocating the questionnaires? Was this survey just going out to your peers, Facebook, different things like that?
Yeah, so we used SurveyMonkey, a tool online, and we distributed it through all of our social media pages, and then as we were talking, we contacted Corey, and she put it out in the newsletter that goes out to a lot of the international students.
And we actually also passed it out at Brown. We stood there and had people take our survey who were walking in, so we did get people a diverse group of people who we didn't necessarily know, but a lot of it was people.
I still never did that.
That's
Did you take it? No, not part of the target process. No, I am 100%.
Got an email from an international student too, who didn't necessarily know about the Haenicke Institute.
Yeah.
And that really surprised us. We were not expecting that. But, and like we said, our sample size for the international students was smaller, so it's possible it's an anomaly, but it's still definitely something worth looking into.
It is.
It is, and I'm not sure, you know, and a lot of people picked up on it, and we're not super surprised because, you know, we have so many different units that students will recognize the unit that they're hearing from. But the Haenicke Institute is really just an organizational structure. We're just like the house that they live in. And so it's quite common. We're not super surprised that student studies abroad realize that the Haenicke Institute is the house that study abroad lives in, or international admissions.
Yeah, so we can see a value in kind of connecting those things, because if a student is interested in one avenue, they might be interested in another, and so like if they come back from studying abroad but are still kind of interested in that, had a really great time, would love to engage with other international students, then if they possibly knew about Celsius or the international student activities, things like that, they could kind of take that interest and